All right. See, we have one person who's joined. We'll just wait for a few more, and then I guess Q&A session can start. We have one like already. That's good. Great. We have two people who have joined. Just need a few more for this Q&A to start. We have 11 people who have joined. That's crazy. Hello, where are you from? I am here in Canada. Yeah. Hey. All right. Well, I guess I can get this Q&A started. So, hello everyone. As you can see, I am finally back with another stream, and I know it's been a couple months, but I'm finally back, and today is just another Q&A session, and I really want this one to be themed about like motivation kind of stuff. And if you do have any like questions about like about karate or martial arts, that stuff, feel free to ask. What are you gonna do for a stream? So this is just a Q&A session. Yeah. And by the way, just something to say, let's make sure that the questions are appropriate and that there's no profanity, no weird language used. Who inspires you the most in karate? I really like that question. The thing is, I started karate before I got inspired by anyone. I was just enrolled in a dojo, just, start. But if I were to say as of now who inspires me the most, it would have to be someone who, passed away a long time ago, but is still someone who I hold very deep in my heart, and that is the one and only Bruce Lee. He's been my idol for so many years, and I'm sure he will continue to be, like, no matter how many years it's been like, since like his death, but he will always be the person who inspires me the most and who inspired me the most. Right. All right, let's get some more questions rolling in. And by the way, to support the say, for those of you who are new to my channel, haven't subscribed yet, make sure you smash the subscribe button for more Q&As, live streams, and videos like this. So I see we have 3 people, but why are there no questions coming in? Went from 11 to 3. That's crazy. Favorite technique? Whew, that's a tough one. My favorite technique has got to be a jump front kick. In karate we call it mai tobi gary. You know, honestly, like, I don't know if I like just doing a single one or doing a double one. So yeah, that's got to be my favorite technique. But along with that, there are a few others that I like. I like the spinning hook kick, and yeah, those are probably my top 2 favorite kicks. Ushido Gary, we call that. I also like Mawashi Gary, roundhouse kick. Um, I like another one which we call Uraken, which is a back fist strike. Really like that one as well. So yeah, I don't really know if I'll have a favorite technique, but I certainly do have several that I really like. But favorite will probably have to be a jump front kick. I love the jump front kick too. Yeah, love that one. And the thing with jump front kick is that it's really a technique that I wish was in more katas. There are like only 2 katas that I know of that use it. Like in karate, there's one Kanku Dai and another one called Gankaku. They're yeah. Those are the only 2 katas I've learned that have a jump front kick in them. So I find it kind of sad that like there's like normal front kick in a lot of the katas, but the jump one is just so much better, and it's especially so smooth when you have like the correct techniques or effective techniques that follow it. So yeah, that's my favorite technique. But before jump front kick, my favorite technique used to actually be a spinning hook kick. That one, it was not just my favorite because of like the feeling of it, but also like it's a very, very powerful kick, very destructive. So yeah, that's why. I think those are the only Shotokan Canada jump front kicks. That's what I'm saying. Like, we need more of them with jump front kicks. Like, we need more of those. Like, can't just be having 2 out of all of them that have that technique. But I'm very glad that you also have it as your favorite technique. That really makes me, feel good about myself. Okay, I see we have 4 people. Remember, guys, any questions you have, just feel free to ask. But remember the guidelines. Make sure they're appropriate. Make sure no like weird language is used. I just like to keep my streams family friendly. And make sure if you just joined that you give this stream a like. And not just that. If I am planning on dropping a few like some new videos on my channel because it's been a while. If there are any recommendations, any suggestions, please let me know and I will gladly consider it. But look, make sure it's something related to the channel though. But these are some very good questions we're getting, so let's keep it rolling. All right, now we're at 3 likes. Someone gave it a like, right? Come on, there's no way with 4 people we're not getting any new questions. Come on. The reason why I'm just urging you guys to keep asking more questions because if like I can't just be staying silent like this for this whole while, and new people will join, they'll be like, he's not answering anything, we got to leave. So let's keep these really good questions rolling, guys. It's strange we're not getting any new questions. Oh, I got 2 new questions. All right. Favorite cat. Let me answer the favorite kata one first because I really want to talk about that. Um, yeah. So my favorite kata. It honestly, when I get asked that question, I have an answer for it, but I want to give a bit of background to it as to why it is my favorite kata. It varied a lot. Like as of now, my favorite kata is one called a gankaku, which basically that's the Japanese version. But when you translate to English, it basically means crane on a rock. And I just love that kata, and for this reason. And it's a very unique kata compared to like a lot of other ones we have in Shotokan. Gankaku, it starts off lightning fast. Then you know how you have those like nice slow moves. Then you go back to fast. Like I really like the kata's like balance of like slow, like slow, moves where you get to like breathe very well, and also like it's like very fast moves. That's That's what I really like about that kata. And what I love, like, I didn't used to like this so much, but I like it a lot now. That at the end of the kata, there are like 4 of those like crane stances where you do like a slow manji uke, like high-low lock position. And when you just stand there, like it just gives you that feel that, oh my God, like I'm so powerful, and then just makes you feel like, it gives that really good feeling. So that's really like what I love about Gankaku, and that's why it's my favorite kata. So thanks so much for asking that question, Cade and Ryan. Yeah, thank you. Another question I have: How do I stay motivated? Yes, that I'm so glad I'm getting a question about that. So the thing is, when things get rough, our instinct is to feel down, feel like, oh no, my God, how am I gonna go through this? How am I gonna do that? But what I try to tell myself is that this isn't the end of it. Things will get better from here. And there is, I'm like, if in the present things aren't like, I know a lot of people say, think in the present, think that, but here's the thing. Sometimes in the present, things don't look that great, you know? And when that's the case, we usually think, "Oh, no, what am I gonna do now?" and all that, but what I try to do, it's a bit unorthodox, but maybe some other people do it, but I try to think about what good is gonna happen in the future. Well, maybe now might not be so great, but maybe in the future, I think about what's happening in the future. Like, oh, during this time, I'm gonna be doing this. I'm gonna be doing that. So that's really what keeps me motivated. So then, instead of feeling down, I'm like, why don't I just keep working hard? Why don't I just keep striving? Like keep pushing. Basically, what I'm trying to say. But yeah, that's a great question. This is a long question. Is there any teaching or philosophy in karate that you resonate with and are able to apply to your life outside of karate? That's such a great question. I have to think about that a little. Let me read again. Is there any teaching or philosophy in karate? Um, well, the part of karate which I feel like really applies to real life is, like, there are two things: discipline and self improvement. All right. What I really like about these two things is that, here's the thing: nowadays, martial arts like karate and all that, when people find out you do them, they're often like, oh, can you, what do they say? Like, they're like, oh, does that mean you can beat this person in a fight? Can you fight like this? Can you show me your moves and all that? But what I like about karate, when it comes to these two things, discipline, self-improvement, those are two things that are outside fighting. They don't apply to fighting. They apply to both when you're in the dojo and when you're outside the dojo as well, right? And those are two very, very important things to have in karate. Discipline, as in you make sure you're going to the classes you need to go to. Make sure you're not trying to make excuses to, oh, I can't go to this class today because I'm like, it's like, unless, no, unless it's something like really bad that you really can't, like, do, then yeah, that's different. But like, stay keeping that discipline, like being there, and being, mature and all that. That's very important. And discipline, that also applies outside life as well. Like discipline in dojo, it applies because I try to go to as many classes as I can, and I try to like stay consistent. Consistency is also a very important thing. And also outside dojo, how I maintain discipline is every day at home. When I do, like, matter what time, like any free time I get, I always try to make time for me, like practicing my katas and really drilling them to the best I can. Because then what that does is that also improves my performance at the dojo as well, right? So they're kind of like, that's how they discipline in both the dojo and discipline outside the dojo kind of connect. And then we have self-improvement. And this is something which some of my peers and I have been talking about recently in the dojo. Karate is also about self improvement, you know, because oftentimes, especially if you're someone who competes against others, you're gonna feel like, oh, I'm not as good as them. I'm not like them. I'm not like this. But what's very important that I've learned is that it doesn't matter how you perform. It doesn't necessarily matter like how well you perform in comparison to others. The most important part is how you get better yourself. How, like, what you do or what you can do to get better. Yeah, better, like, improve yourself. All right. Remember what other people do. What they do, how their performance. There's nothing you have no control over that. You have control over what you can do, right? And what you can do from now, and like what you can do to get better, like that. So those are two teachings in karate that really resonate with me, and that I've also been able to apply outside of karate. I may have gone a bit off the question, but I tried to stay on topic as much as I could. But that's a great question. Great answer. Thank you. Yeah, very, very wise words, right? Also wondering, what's your ultimate goal in your karate journey? Is there a specific belt level you want to reach or any particular technique, kata, you want to learn? So I'll answer the last part first. When it comes to what kata I want to learn, pretty much I already have gotten a feel of all the katas we have in Shotokan. In Shotokan style karate, we have a total of 26 katas. I'll repeat that again, 26. Whether you believe it or not, I have seen them all and I have tried them out. All right. So in terms of kata, like if you ask me if there's any particular I want to learn, well, I really can't because I've kind of already learned them all. But technique, well, techniques I want to learn is like there's one technique called a 540 kick, which is basically like we have something called a 360 kick, which is also known as a tornado kick, right? You spin, we also call it a spinning roundhouse kick like that. But there's an extension to that called a 540 kick. Basically, you kick, like you do throw a roundhouse kick, but you have to land on that same leg that you kicked with. So that's probably a technique which I really, really want to like learn. And belt level, well, the highest belt level we have in karate is 10th degree, right? So 10th degree is obviously the belt level which I want to achieve. I know that'll take a lot more years and that'll take a lot more practice, but I'm all in for it, right? And what's my ultimate goal in my karate journey? Well, honestly, like I just said it, like these things I want to learn. And also I want to be able to get that opportunity to, like teach more students, maybe open up my own dojo, we'll see. Right now I can't really anticipate all this. I try to focus on what I can do in the present and what's going to come up in the next few months. So those are some things which like have to do with my goal. Yeah. Cameron, have you ever considered learning katas from other styles of karate? Excellent question. So recently, I've actually been learning this one kata from the okay, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if you yeah. So if I say the style wrong, if this kata I mentioned is not part of the style, like please correct me. But when uh so from the Goju Ryu is another style of karate we have. So there's this kata I've been learning from the Goju Ryu style called Suparin Pei. This kata is probably the longest kata I've ever seen in my whole training of karate. Even though I do Shotokan, I've seen other styles of karate as well. So yeah, that's another kata I've been learning, from another style. So from Goju-Ryu style, it's Supari Pei. It's honestly like I haven't learned the whole thing, but I've been kind of learning it in chunks. Because if I'm being honest, this kata is I'm pretty sure like a 4 to 6 minute kata. Like, I'm not even joking. Katas usually like in Shotokan, they usually don't exceed more than like 2 minutes. That's from what I remember. But this one from Goju-Ryu, Supari Pei, like it's it's such a like good kata. It's like such a strong one. You have like such really cool techniques which we don't actually have in a lot of our Shotokan katas. So yeah, that's what I've been learning. And honestly, like I'm learning it just to get a bit of exposure to some other styles of karate. Like for now, Goju Ryu, and then maybe I'll learn another one from like a different style, like Shito Ryu or something like that. But we'll see. But for now, I'm focusing on Super Rinpei from Goju Ryu. And please don't ask me what it translates to because I don't know at all. ZQXMK, Nishant, my man. Thanks for joining. Great kata. I'm Shotokan and I'm learning a few katas like Anan, Ohandai, and Sansai. I'm really glad you brought that up because actually I've also been like you just reminded me. I've actually been learning Sansai as well. And I've learned the whole kata and I've also been trying to practice it on my own recently. When I first learned it, it felt like such a long kata, but when you actually do it at the right speed, like it's because when I was learning it pretty slowly. When you learn it at a but when I did it at like the fast speed, honestly, like it actually doesn't feel that long. And someone told me apparently it's actually shorter than like the long katas that are like 65 moves like Goju Shiho Dai, you know, and Kanku Dai. And yeah, so Sansai and it's Sansai is probably the kata which I really want to use in my next tournament as well. But you also said you're learning Anan and Ohandai. Yes, those are probably the only other two katas outside Shotokan, which I've also seen so many times being performed in WKF tournaments. But I've been trying to also learn like especially Anan, like I've been trying to learn that as well. Like I I've seen it, it looks great and it makes me really want to learn it, but I it'll take me some time for me to, I actually like, find a good like person, a good tutorial to actually teach me that kata. But that's great that, honestly, I think it's important like just because you're in a certain style of karate, like my belief is just because you're in a certain style of karate, that doesn't mean that you have to stick with only that. It is great to get exposure to other styles too, and not just other styles of karate. I also try to. Okay, I'm going a bit off topic, but it's also kind of like on topic as well. I also try to learn techniques from other martial arts too. Like there are certain really cool kicks from like taekwondo that I've been trying to learn and like other stuff like techniques from like boxing and all that, even some kung fu stuff and all that. So and that's just part of me because I hold very great interest and I have respect for all martial arts. A lot of people nowadays they have like especially if we're talking about just karate, let's say there are like people who are in Goju Ryu who have like disrespected Shotokan. They're like Shotokan katas are all like this, they're all like that. Why isn't it as good as our style? And I'm like, honestly, that's just against my beliefs. I try to have respect for every martial art, and any style of karate and all that. So that's why I kind of hold interest in learning other techniques from not just other styles of karate but other martial arts as well. And it really really makes me like angry when people are like this martial art's so useless, this one would never work in a fight. Like remember, I try to think every martial art has its purpose, every martial art has its benefits, its advantages and all that. And I will say as far as karate goes, karate isn't for everyone. I will say that. There have been many people who have told me, I tried karate, I did it for a few years, but I hated it after that. It wasn't working for me. Same with taekwondo. People are like, "Oh, I did taekwondo for a bit. It was so boring, it was so useless." But if you keep that in your mind that it's useless, then you're not really going to get anything out of your training in that style. So, yeah. That was a long talk, but that's just what I believe. I totally agree. I know some people in my organization that try to forbid some people from cross training. I really thank my sensei for pushing me to learn from other styles. That is great. Honestly, yeah, that makes no sense. Why should cross training be forbidden? Like there's no reason why it should be. Like no matter what you're trained in, you should have every right to learn something from other martial arts. There are so many people who I know who have had training and who have obtained black belts in several different martial arts. So I'm very sorry that there are people in your organization that forbid people from cross training. Like that is completely wrong. Like that you might not be able to do anything about it, but that they should not be doing that at all. Yes, and I'm also grateful that in my dojo, that my sensei, and my senseis have like also taught me a bit about, other styles of karate and other martial arts. And I'm so grateful that they've also taken their time to show other techniques. Like recently, we had someone in our dojo who taught us Muay Thai. Like we're in a karate dojo and taught us Muay Thai. So like I don't really see any reason why, Other styles like cross training should be forbidden. Like absolutely not. Like it should not be forbidden. Um, what are the strategies to stay motivated? I think I kind of already answered this, but sure, I'm more than happy to talk about it again. So what I try to do is stay motivated. I kind of already said this, but I'll just say it again. I'll try to reword it. I try to I kind of try to think like the thing with me is I'm the kind of person that likes to think a bit in the future. Now, here's the thing with that. Sometimes thinking a bit too much in the future can be a bit of a bad thing. But here's where it is not. When if in the present you're facing something, you're dealing with something in your life that's just killing your mind, that's just like I just can't you just get that feeling that I can't do this anymore and all that. What I try to do is I try to tell myself just because things are rough now doesn't mean they won't get better. You know? It's very important you tell yourself that. And that's one strategy that I do to keep myself motivated. I think like, okay, things are rough now, but I know they will get better. Like no matter how far from now, how close from now, like things will get better no matter what. All right? And I also try to think like, oh, next month I have this coming up. Why should I be sad? Why should I be depressed? Like I should try to train hard for that. Like if right now, say I was depressed. Let's say I was. If I was sad, I think like, no, why should I be depressed? I have this, I have all these great things going on in my life. Why? What's the point of being depressed? And I have this tournament coming up in a couple of months. No need to be excuse me. No need to be depressed. So, those are some strategies you have to come up with to stay motivated. And I will admit, I sometimes also struggle to do that, but I just keep persisting. That's honestly the key. Just keep persisting, keep pushing, because you know that things will get better, right? Great answer. Thank you. My pleasure. Can you talk a bit about your experience at your last tournament? Yes, absolutely. I would love to talk about my last tournament. So I will say that my experience in my last tournament was a great experience. I will say, long story short, it was great. And I will say, think about it now. It like I just don't get why I was so nervous about it. Because like not only did I do so well, and despite it being despite it like me going back to competing after such a long time and training for competitions, but like right now, I think like why was I so worried about it at the moment? And I will say, like, my experience there, honestly, before I competed in that tournament, I was watching all these videos of from like WKF, World Karate Federation, like them, like those top athletes like who compete nationally, who are in their like 30s, like do those katas. And that itself already kind of gave me the feel of what's the difference between how you should perform a kata in your tournament compared to how you should perform a kata in your grading, like in your belt test. But when I actually went to this tournament and saw these performances in person, that completely blew my mind and changed everything. Uh, so so yeah, like right in front of my eyes, I was seeing these so like there were a couple of national champions, but there were these other elite guys who, oh my god, beautiful kata. They like breathing was perfect, and even some team kata I was seeing perfectly synchronized move. And that right there, kind of being immersed there in that moment, like kind of getting that feel of it in like right when you're there at the moment, experiencing it, seeing it with your own eyes. That itself gave me the feel and told me what I need to do to perfect my kata, especially if I'm going to be doing it as like for the tournament, because I was going to compete like a couple hours after that. So like when I saw them do those techniques, and I also try to notice what are they doing in their katas that I was not applying in mine when I was practicing at home up until this day. All right, up until no, sorry, not this day, but like that day, the tournament day. I noticed what they were doing. I saw, okay, they were doing this. They were breathing on these techniques. They were breathing on kicks. And I saw like, and from there I was able to identify, what mistakes and what errors I was making in some of my katas, and what were some flaws in mine. And so then I looked at theirs and I was like, okay, I need to kind of do this. I need to add that element of drama. I need to, have that face. Sometimes even having a kata face really helps you do better in your kata, right? So yeah, so that's really what part of what made my experience at my last tournament so amazing. And yeah, and I had the right people by my side who told me, like at there, who was really proud of my performance, who said I did great and that I should keep up the great work. So yeah, I'm very glad you asked me about my experience at last tournament. Do you compete in WKF tournaments? Yes, I do. That's kind of what I just like talked about. So yeah, I do. All right, we have 6 people. But yeah, these are some really great questions, guys. And I urge the people who are just joining the stream, if you have any questions, please ask. And if you can get anyone to join, that would be great. This is a very productive stream so far. What were the lessons that you learned from your past tournaments? Uh, well, I'll say one great lesson that I learned is that don't it's like as hard as it sounds, and as hard as it sounded to me, but I just kept telling myself this: don't be nervous when you're performing a kata. Remember, like, you shouldn't, like, what I noticed about those people who were doing their katas at the last tournament, I noticed they were performing it in such a way that, like, they didn't care what people were thinking about them. Remember, like, no matter what you do, there will be people who think different things. There'll be some people that are like, yeah, that was a great performance. There'll be some people that are like, nah, that could have been so much better. But like, what I noticed about those people performing their katas is that, like, they didn't even look nervous at all. They looked so relaxed. They looked like, they were just focusing on themselves. That is really something which really resonated with me. All right. And that's one big lesson I learned, that, like, don't be nervous. Do your kata, perform it, do the best you can. And remember the tips that your senseis gave you when you were training. Go apply that in your tournament, and don't mind what other people in the audience are thinking about you. Because remember, people will think all sorts of stuff, but you just gotta tune out of what they think. Don't even worry if they're thinking anything. Just focus on yourself. Focus on, like, what you're doing at the present and what you can do to, keep getting better yourself. So that's one. Those are a few very like significant lessons I learned from my last tournament, past ones. Similar question to my last, but do you compete in Karate Canada? Oh, sorry, I got disconnected for some reason. But yes, I compete in Karate Canada tournaments. Yes, specifically in Ontario. Nice, me too. Oh, that's great. Wow, that's a lot. Yeah, that's great to hear. Yeah, yeah, honestly, like, I'm so glad I started competing. Like, it really, like, competitions have honestly kind of helped me improve, and just seeing, not just performing them, but seeing in front of your eyes like other people compete, that really helped me improve my own katas. So that's why I think competing, like, obviously, if you're in karate, it's not a necessity, but if you do it, that's great. There are, like, so many benefits from it that have really helped me out, and I'm sure have helped a lot of other people as well. All right, we have 7 people. That's great. I wonder if the people who aren't asking questions are actually listening to what I'm saying. Okay, 6 people are on and we have 6 likes. That's great. What do you do in a typical training session? Well, training sessions, every training session kind of varies a little bit. Like there are some where, we start off with a little jog around the dojo and then, we'll do like exercises like knees to your chest, heels up and side to side, kind of like karaokeing around the dojo. Yeah, and then also sometimes we occasionally we do some like weight exercises with like light weights. We do like what do I call it? Those mobility exercises, like, to really get your, because mobility training is something very, very crucial for martial artists, in my opinion. And I'm sure a lot of other people will agree as well. So we do some of those like mobility stuff to just to, warm up. Like warming up is so important in karate, especially like before stretch. Warming up is so important. Like you get your muscles moving, get your body moving a bit, so that when you like actually have to do your katas, you already feel warm. You already like um, you'll be able to do them well. So yeah, so then after we warm up a bit, then we train some katas for some time, and then if we think they went well, then we'll work in our pairs, and we like take those katas and we actually apply them, like if we were in like a combat situation. Like kata, has moves which in Japanese we call this bunkai, right? Which basically means like applying the katas, like application of the katas, and like each kata has its own bunkai. Like some of the attacks will be like a punch, some will be a kick. So we practice some of those, and that's usually what a typical training session is like. But I will say most of it though is really drilling our katas, and like sometimes we'll separate in groups, depending on our belt level, because in our black belt class there are different levels of black belt we have, obviously, right? So then we'll split up like that, and then we'll just drill our own katas depending on which one we're working on currently. Sometimes like some of us who like compete in tournaments, we get special time to practice our like tournament katas, which is another really great thing. So that's what a typical training session would be like. Wait, sorry about that. All right, any more questions? I see we have 6 people, so might as well ask a question. Those of you who have not asked yet. Anyone? Do you prefer training kata or kumite? So here's the thing. That's another really good question, and I'm glad you asked because not a lot of people like actually care to ask whether I specialize in kata or kumite. So up until last year, I specialized more in kumite. All right. And I used to like kumite a lot more than kata, for some reason. But I don't know what happened last year. After watching like WKF, tournament, kata's like the, national championships, like from WKF, like on YouTube, I started seeing some of those guys doing katas, and it gave me a different approach to katas. I looked at it like I noticed the way they were performing it, like um that really that power they're putting in it, and some of like the techniques, and that is also what kind of motivated me to start learning newer katas. And so that's why since like middle of last year I've now like kata more than kumite. Yeah, so got switched, and that's why now I prefer training kata over kumite. But occasionally, at the dojo and even at home, i do I do from time to time train kumite. But I will say, to answer your question, kata I train a lot more, and I just like kata a lot more because kumite, I feel like you're restricted to so many, like not so many. You're restricted to like few techniques. You have your front punch, your reverse punch, your round kick, hook kick, and all that. Like I feel like in kata you get more exposure to like different kind of like techniques and different kind of blocks, and you get to like when you actually do a bunkai, it's so fun. You know. I feel like in Kumite it's a lot like, one person throws an attack, you have to counter it, and it goes back and forth. But in kata, I feel like it's a little bit, different. So yeah, that's why I prefer training kata over Kumite now. How quickly can one achieve the highest level? Well, the highest level we have is 10th degree. The I honestly, 'cause here's the thing. I don't know many people who have achieved a 10th degree, except I know one famous actor who has. He's a really good martial artist, and like Hollywood, he has achieved a 10th degree, but I'm pretty sure if I were to guess, it took him like more than 35 years of training, I would have to say. So I can't really answer the question, how quickly can one achieve the highest level, really. But honestly, it like that question, it's kind of depends. I will say that's a good answer to give because when you talk about how quickly, it honestly depends on how consistent the person is in their training. If you trade for a while, take a large gap, and then go back, it will obviously take longer than someone who consistently trains, goes a certain number of times every week. So, like that, those are some, factors that kind of contribute to how much time it takes for you to achieve a certain belt level in certain martial arts where it's there. So yeah, that question is kind of like subjective. I have a hard time focusing. Can karate help with that? Yes, I will say, but not all aspects of karate. Like at the start of karate, at the start of our karate class, we do some, we do a certain type of meditation, you know, and that really helps all of us in that class, focus for the rest of the class. And even sometimes, like, I don't know about many other people who do karate, but when I do karate, when I like practice on my katas, like, even sometimes those really help me focus. And those just really help me let go of, any other thoughts, like unnecessary thoughts that are in my mind. That it really helps me let go of that. So sometimes even just drilling katas really helps me stay focused, right? And that special type of meditation you do at the start of class, and in kata, especially like, breathing on every technique really helps you focus. Like if I were to throw a punch, I'd have to go like that. Like that's an example of really some move we have in our kata that really helps me focus. So yes, karate can. There are certain aspects of karate that certainly can help you with focusing. What challenges or difficulties do you face when learning a new kata? Well, again, that kind of depends on the kata because there are a lot of new katas that I've learned recently where which have certain like to answer your question, I'll say sometimes like what one thing that kind of makes it difficult is like if say you're learning a new kata and there's like this new technique which you've never done before. Like in this new kata I'm learning called unsu, very cool kata by the way. There is this crazy jump that happens, at the end. It's kind of like the illusion of like a side flip that happens. So that's one huge difficulty I faced in learning that kata. So I will say a lot of the times like when difficulties arise, it's usually because of new techniques which like the student has not been exposed to before and who has not really had much experience with before. So that's definitely one thing that kind of makes it difficult. And also another kata that I've been training a lot recently, Gankaku, which I mentioned at the beginning of the stream. That one at the end, there are like four of these insane crane stances where you stand on one leg and you have to maintain that balance without like shaking a bit because when you have to sorry about that when you have to do that tend to like shake a bit. So like that's another big difficulty. So again, it really depends on the kata. Um, oh my god, phone ringing. Sorry about that, guys. Sorry, the phone ringing. Okay. Kate and Ryan, you're asking, do you come up with your own bunkai or do you follow a set? Because for nationals, we had to create our own for Team Kata. Yeah, exactly. We also have to do the same regardless of whether you compete provincially or nationally. Like we have like at our dojo when we train, we like collectively, like especially if you're doing team kata, you like actually you only do bunkai if you are doing team kata. Yeah, like your whole team has to like collectively unanimously decide on a bunkai for that kata. So yes, to answer your question, we do have to create our own bunkai. Like very rarely, like the only instances where we do follow a set is if like the kata has really, really odd moves, which we don't really know at first glance, how that be applied. So from there, we might have to look for, tips from other karatekas on YouTube for that. But yeah, but overall, like in general, we create our own collectively. We have a few minutes left. Okay, another question. How do you feel having come to the level in karate that you are right now? I feel great. Simple as that. And it just motivates me to keep moving forward. That's pretty much it. Yeah. What advice would you have for others? Well, if you're talking about others who are, who starting martial arts, I would say the biggest advice I give is stay consistent in your training. Consistency is the key, especially when it comes to learning a martial art. You might not like it at first, you might find it boring, and you might feel like quitting sometimes, and that's how I felt sometimes like karate, but you have to just keep learning because what a lot of people don't understand is that like when they see very basic stuff, they're like, "How is this gonna help me?" Like, they'll be like, what do I say? They're like, yeah, yeah, like what good is this gonna do? I want to learn more advanced stuff. But you have to remember, you have to learn the basics first before you move on to the advanced stuff. That's where the consistency plays in. Be consistent in your training. Because if you only have consistency for like a little bit, just because you're bored of learning basic stuff, you're gonna miss out. And if you just quit, you're gonna miss out on what you're gonna learn later on. So you kind of have to think like that. So that's kind of one of the biggest pieces of advice I'd give. No problem. All right, we'll see if we have any more. Okay, we have four people. I'm sure we can get another question in. might need to wrap it up soon, so I'll appreciate any last questions I get. Well, seeing as there are no more questions being asked, I guess we'll have to end the stream here. Again, before I leave, I just want to say thank you all so much for joining and for asking those amazing questions. I'll see you on the next stream. Nos. Arigato.